Hey there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back. I'm your host, Pattsun, and today we're gonna be taking a look at r/relationship advice, where OP's fiancé abandoned him at the altar for the dumbest of reasons. Oh man, OP, I'm so sorry. Let's begin. My partner of 7 years left me at the altar and now wants me to take her back. Posted by Reddit user ThrowRA5643278.
My head is at a million places right now, so excuse my incoherency. My girlfriend/fiancé/ex-girlfriend had been dating since she was 19 and I was 21. We've been through everything together and basically grown up together. I've always known that when she really panics, she tends to run away from things. She used to randomly break up with me and try to dip when we were very young, but we talked it through and got better at that, and she hasn't done that for years now. Anyway, I proposed a year ago, and it was hardly a surprise. We'd been discussing marriage for years. We both knew we'd be on board to do this after she finished her MBA and got a job in my city. Everything was perfect. The past year has been very hectic in planning a wedding, since we're both from another country where grand weddings are the norm. And we had to fly people out, etc. About 2 to 3 months ago, the nerves started to hit her and she tried to talk to me about it. I will acknowledge my faults here. She did try to bring it up to me that she was nervous, and the whole ordeal of a grand wedding was stressing her out. Ideally, she would have wanted a small destination wedding with a big party afterwards, but due to both of our families requesting a big wedding and inviting all their friends, we succumbed. She was also nervous about the commitment of marriage, finances, other things. All of this we had discussed before, but I guess she just needed reassurance. However, in hindsight, I realize now that every time she brought it up to me before that she was anxious, I chalked it up to the normal cold feet people get, and would just say it'll be fine and brushed it off. I was also stressed with a lot of work to do before I took my long leave, and planning and budgeting and all of it. We both make very good money, but this wedding was going out of budget, and we didn't want to take any money from our parents. All of it got pretty stressful for both of us. She seemed a little jittery the night before as well. I told her to calm down and just sleep. Mostly I was very, very excited to make her my wife, something I have been dreaming of since the day we started dating. She's the love of my life, and it was still hard to believe she was choosing to marry me. I was the happiest man alive. On the day of the wedding, she dipped. She left me a note apologizing and saying she couldn't do all of this, and just ran. I don't even know where she went. All of it unfolded so quickly, and it was almost like a movie, all our family members coming into my room while I was ready to walk out onto the altar, asking me where she was, etc. Pretty traumatic, and I ended up crying in front of all my family and friends. Our parents handled the guests, and all of it while I just went home, heartbroken. She wasn't at home. I spent the entire day calling and texting her, and her phone was switched off. She walked in at night, at 10 to 11 p.m., and just kept crying and apologizing. I told her to just go sleep, and I need time to think about everything that happened. Now I'm turning to Reddit because I don't know what to do anymore. She has apologized multiple times and wants me back, and says she's even ready to do the whole grand wedding again, and she regrets having run away in a momentary lapse of judgment. She knows she wants to be with me, but she just panicked and got cold feet. I can't imagine my life without her, but at the same time my trust is broken. I don't understand why she couldn't just be more of an adult and tell me properly before the wedding, although she insists she tried to. I feel disrespected and just heartbroken and embarrassed that I had to go through all of that. I don't know if I can or should forgive her. What if she does this again and runs at some other important event, like she did on the most important day of my life? Any advice or suggestions on how to proceed, if I can continue with this relationship or if I should just cut my losses and move on? Thank you for reading this far. Edit for some clarifications. Wow, okay, I did not expect to get these many responses on my post, and I have read through every single one of them. I appreciate all of you for taking out the time to read this and give me advice. There are some things I realize I should clarify or elaborate on based on the comments. Why she ran, I don't think it was the marriage bit. Getting married was not going to change a lot about our relationship anyway, and I know she was just as excited about getting married as I was. I should mention that while both our parents wanted a grand wedding, mine were way more insistent on it than hers. Her parents would have been happy with whatever choice she was happy with, even a court marriage. Mine insisted on a bigger wedding, as they believed if we had a small one it would make relatives and friends think we are poor. And she felt pressured to say yes because she wanted them to like her. And she knows how much I love my mom and didn't want me to have to choose. The financial bit. She makes much more money than me and she funded at least 70 to 80% of the wedding expenses. She offered and was happy to do so. If she hadn't offered that, my parents would have had to step in and fund it, which she wasn't comfortable with. The financial stress of it was getting to both of us, but probably more to her than me. We've discussed finances in depth, and I have financially supported her when she was doing her MBA, and both of us are comfortable with the fact that she earns a lot more now and will contribute more to our expenses. It's all hitting me now that she ended up burning so much money on a wedding she didn't want, just to make sure my parents didn't dislike her. The history of running away. She used to break up and dip from the relationship in the initial 2 to 3 years of our relationship, and after working on it that time we've really managed to get over it. She hasn't suggested breaking up or wanting to run away for the past 3 to 4 years at least. I don't know if I'll be able to trust her because when she gets anxious, she can't think about me like she didn't in this situation and didn't consider the humiliation I had to go through. But I do trust her to not run away when we have kids or at other difficult points in life, I think. I'm not really sure. It's all hard to process right now. Thank you so much for all your advice. I will be taking a few days away from her to think about all of it and then decide on the next steps. Although yes, therapy is a starting point for both of us individually at least.
OP, why would you ever stay with someone who would always abandon you when you need them the most, when things get difficult?
Why are you still here?
There's just no trust there. I'm picturing you, OP. I'm picturing you having a major health crisis. Knock on wood that doesn't happen. And I can see it. I can see that this girl, this woman would be running away because she can't handle adult things like an adult should. That's not really a good behavior. Running away is what a child does. This woman is nowhere near grown enough to be in a marriage. No way. OP, don't even fucking think of bringing kids into the mix. Don't you fucking dare, bro. No. OP, you've dealt with her abandoning you for years. Abandoning you when things are difficult and you need her the most. Is this really the life that you want? Do you want to deal with this bullshit the rest of your life? If the answer is yes, then you need to go in front of a mirror and punch yourself in the face. And then ask the question again. Good luck. Our second story is from r/ProRevenge. Stiff me on overtime? Cue the long, expensive revenge. Posted by Reddit user Scheibler.
This happened in the early 2000s when I joined a startup. We agreed on a salary and no paid overtime and an evaluation in 3 months and then annually. Standard stuff mostly. It was a very mediocre salary for the work, but I really liked the work itself, which was extremely interesting and challenging. For me, even if the finances were so and so, I felt I'd learn a lot of skills which would be useful in the future. After 3 years and having 10 decent clients and a bunch of clients trialing and money rolling in, the talk turned to back pay and paid overtime, plus compensating for past overtime. At that point, around $50,000 in OT had been accrued, which is a lot. Legally, it couldn't be back pay, so the talk was always of a discretionary bonus. Now at this point, everyone is okay with this, myself included. And this was discussed in writing, via company emails too, so I felt secure in that no bad will was in play. I felt the company should be able to afford the payment. Equally, I'd happily settle for equity at a discount, which is legally possible there if cash flow was an issue. The discussions about back pay, possible equity, and now started to drag on and I was getting irked by this. In the end, I was made an offer of equity which meant the company valuation was far beyond anything reasonable. In the hundreds of millions and I'd get a minuscule stake. Less than 0.01% of a company with 9 employees and a projected annual turnover of around 2 million. It was a fuck you of sorts to stiff me out of money, and I didn't want to take that lying down. To say I was furious was an understatement. Anyway, the day he made that offer I handed in my resignation. This sent the CTO into panic mode because the CEO had refused an updated contract, and I was still on a 1-month notice period plus I had a lot of untaken paid leave. Basically, it meant I was walking out right then and there. So, off I went that very same day, to the shock and surprise of everyone, I guess. The next day I sent an official, registered letter requesting my overtime and back pay and received a negative response, which I followed up with another, detailed, demand. This was also rejected because the bonus was discretionary and there is no overtime. However, I'd been seeking legal advice and I understood that they don't have a leg to stand on if I am willing to pay for an attorney. As the liability in such matters is firmly and 100% on the employer, I was willing. You need to understand that going to a lawyer was very rare in those parts back then, so companies didn't generally expect this outcome. Things have since changed. When going through the applicable laws with the attorney, I noticed there is a limitation of 7 years. So, while my attorney was laying out what to do in order to get me my money in a little as a few weeks, I just asked him what if we wait until it's 6 years and 11 months after the transgression and then file, demanding interest. I wanted this because the law stated that back pay is due at a 9% APR above the base rate, 3.25% at that time, accrued daily, for every day past the due date. We're looking at 12 to 12.5% compound daily APR. The risk is that the company folds in that time, but I decided to take that risk. I sent one final letter stating that I expect all the owed and accrued amounts to date to be paid immediately. Of course, nothing happened. For the next few years, life rolled on. The company did grow and become a known player in the area. When the time came, I found an attorney and started the case. We had copies of all the communications, copies of the registered letters and responses. The back pay demanded now, including interest, was $112,000. What I didn't know was that in addition to this, that there are fixed penalties for each instruction to perform uncompensated overtime. The total demand was something like $135,000. To say that the CEO, who was still CEO, lost his shit would be an understatement. I got a very verbally abusive phone call which I dutifully recorded, as it wasn't completely unexpected, and was added to the filing. The CEO fought, or tried to, but when the judge heard the phone call, he took an immediate dim view. Reading through all the communication just put more nails in the defense's coffin. The judge just ruled and instructed the company to pay immediately, and without delay, and also ordered the company to pay all my legal costs. They also got a full audit from the Department of Labor. The company paid up a week later. To add insult to injury, the evening of the court's decision, the CEO apparently got very drunk and crashed his car into another vehicle while drunk. He got a Dewey conviction and lost his driving license for half a year, and his insurance refused to pay out for the damages to his vehicle, brand new Mercedes S-Class, as he was drunk. All in all, a glorious day.
Oh, damn OP. Delaying the case until the interest and fines racked up? Dude, that is the very definition of a power move. This is such a satisfying story. Fuck anyone that tries to mess with your livelihood. Oh man, I don't get why companies do this. I mean, why would you do this? Why would you actively try and screw over the people that made you rich in the first place? And those people most likely knew about your shady behaviors. Why? That's just so dumb. Viewer support is the best way for me to remain independent and continue bringing you these daily videos, which will always be here on my YouTube channel for you to watch absolutely free. So consider clicking that super thanks just below the video title, or you can use my PayPal in the description box down below. Thanks for listening, everyone. If you even somewhat enjoyed today's story, make sure to give this video a thumbs up, and if you really like it, make sure to subscribe to PattSun to never miss a future upload. Stay strong.